welcome to Music Talk. This week I'll be discussing albums that I received from my brother-in-law. He called me and said, hey, I've got a big box of records that somebody just wanted to get rid of, and said, do you want them? And I said, of course. I don't need to see them, just let me have the box, because you never know what you're going to get. You could find gems, you could find stuff you're not so interested in. You just never know. But the exciting part, I think, is opening it up and seeing what's in there. So that's what I did. And what I usually do, I've received records in the past, and what I'll do, I'll decide is if I'm going to keep them, if they're in the condition that I like, if I like them at all. And if I don't, then what I'll usually do is take them to a local record store that I frequent, and I'll see if they have an interest in them. And usually get a store credit, because you get a little bit more by doing the store credit, and then you end up with I can choose albums that I do like, that I've been looking for. So it's kind of a cool deal that way. So that's what I usually do with that. So what we're gonna do is the first one here, I'm familiar with the band, and actually that's the funny part, is it's actually called, they're called The Band, and I'm sure you're familiar with these guys. I hadn't heard of this one. It's funny because I know the band, and I love music from Big Pink, but I've seen the movie that Scorsese did, The Last Waltz, so I do know their music through there. But it's another group that I still need to check out a little bit more. This is a great set. This is live. I believe this is a double. Yeah, it's a double album. It's live, and this was released in 1972. They did it was like a New Year's Eve concert that they did in 1971, and they recorded this between the 28th and the 31st of December of 71. And the band was they had a relationship with Bob Dylan. Some people say Bob Dylan was sort of a bad influence on the band. I don't know. Myself, I've just heard that, but the last 4 songs, I believe, on this, Dylan joins them, and it's pretty much January 1st at that time, because he comes in after midnight and performs 4 songs with these guys. So this is good. It's a great sounding album. The band is like a classy band, a group of people, and pretty disturbing past. A lot of the guys didn't do well later on. It's kind of sad, but they were such great musicians. So I would definitely check this one out. Like I said, it's the band, 1972. So Rock of Ages, so I definitely check that one out. The next one, and it's interesting because there's a little bit of variety. I wonder if this was a husband and wife team, or kids involved, or what, because it seems like this collection went between what I would call vocalists, but I just recently learned this guy wasn't really a vocalist. He was considered a jazz musician, Tony Bennett. But the collection goes between it'll go from funk to good rock and roll like that, to almost what I call like showman or Broadway, kind of more uppity, like we were expecting a dance routine with it kind of thing, kind of music. So we'll get further into that. But this is Tony Bennett. This is live at Carnegie Hall. It says Volume 1. I think there's just 2 volumes to it, from what I saw, and you just get more songs from that. Now I don't know if it's from the same concert. This one was recorded live June 9th, 1962, and it's great. I mean, if you love Tony Bennett, his voice is like dead on. It's strong. He has there's a bongo drummer. I think his name was Candido, and he's on here, and there's a couple cool parts where he breaks in. But it's I like this a little bit more than a studio album by him, because it really kind of livens him up and really shows his personality, and it's, I don't know, I just really like this one. So I definitely recommend this if you're looking into sort of that jazz vocalist. Tony Bennett, they compared him to Sinatra. And actually he does I believe a couple Broadway type songs on this, but he kind of makes it his own. So it's cool all the way through. And the big thing on here was he does do I Left My Heart in San Francisco on here. Old standard of Old Man River. And I think Lullaby of Broadway might be one that some people are familiar with. So yeah, definitely recommend that one. The third one, to me, and this one's a little disappointing, probably won't be a keeper. This is Crosby and Nash, Whistling Down the Wire. What I read on this was it was the third record in a deal that these guys had with, what was their label on this? It says ABC Records, so maybe it's ABC Records. To me, the harmonies are great, of course, it's these two guys, but to me it feels like it's missing that Stephen Stills. There's really not a song on this that stuck out for me. Just not a fan of the album. So this is one I'll trade in, and I'm sure somebody likes these guys. I mean, this is obviously all just my taste in music, my opinion. So the beauty of this is I can trade this in, find something I like, and somebody go, oh, I was looking for this one, and here you go. This one seems to be in pretty good shape. Some of the album, well, the cover's a little warped. You can see where the album kind of came through a little bit. This one I put back in its sleeve. It seems like a lot of the albums in this collection, whoever listened to it would take the album out, throw the sleeve back in, and then when the album finished playing, they just stuck it back in there and not the sleeve. So a lot of them was like you open up and see album and sleeve. So I'm not sure why they did that. And this has the old, I don't know when this started, but people wrote their names on their albums. I don't know if you can see that. This one's kind of faded, but that seemed to be a big thing at some point. I don't know if people were leaving albums at people's houses because they would take them over for parties or what the deal was, but it seems like a lot of people wrote their names on the albums, and that's, you know, if you're really looking for an album, you see a name on it, sometimes you'll just buy it because, like, gee, I've been looking for that album. For me, it's a turn off. I don't like it. I don't like to see somebody else's name. The only one that I thought was cool that I saw was a album I bought from a friend of mine's dad, and he was in the Air Force at one time. I think it was a Ricky Nelson album. It actually even looked cool how he did it. It was on the back, and there was a little bit of space right here at the top on that album, and he stamped it with his name, and I believe probably his, I'm not sure how it works, but like his military ID number or something like that was on there. So you definitely knew whose album it was. It was cool because it wasn't on the front, you know, and then the way he did it on the back, kind of, it almost looked like it fit there. So it's kind of neat. So again, this one not great for me, but I'm sure somebody will enjoy it. This next one, it includes the people I thought were missing from that last one. Now this I have multiple. I've had multiple versions of this cassette. Had 8-track at one time, but I never played it on 8-track because I never had an 8-track player, but I just wanted it. Had it on, still have it on CD, and this is Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and this is Deja Vu. This is just one of those albums that you can't miss. This was 1970, considered folk rock music. Has a gatefold. This one's in pretty good condition. A lot of them you'll find, you have this right here, the picture is actually a sticker that they put on there. A lot of times you'll find it peeled off or different variations, colorings of it. And this album seems to be in pretty good shape. I have a copy of it there, but you know, if it's in good shape, you keep another copy, or if you find somebody you really want to share it with, then you give it to them. But this one has the gatefold, has the guys in there. This one, I believe, had the original sleeve. Hard to tell. It's one of those sleeves that have the advertisements on it. I have a feeling that wasn't the original sleeve. Thought there was a different one. But the album, it's a black album, and it appears to be in pretty good shape, so I'm hoping it'll be a good one. Keep it for a backup, I guess, but definitely Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Deja Vu is a keeper. One thing I did like, I meant to pull it out earlier, actually it's right here. This was a Record Store Day thing, and I love this. It's the same album, yeah, Record Store Day exclusive. I believe this was 2021 that I got this. This one actually I stood in line to get. This has different versions of the song. It's Deja Vu, like you've never heard before. Alternate versions of the classic 1970 album. So as a carry on, the big songs on here is Teach Your Children Well. Woodstock is on there, the Joni Mitchell song. Deja Vu. So this is just a helpless Neil Young. I mean, it's great. So, and I even changed the front of the album, gave it a white look, so you can see the difference between this and the original version of it. So, definitely, if you find this, I would get it. I love this just as much. It's a little strange to listen to it because the songs are, you know, you're so used to hearing them a certain way. But I grew into this one pretty quickly. So that wasn't hard for me to adjust to. The next one I pulled up, and I'm familiar with the Doors. I have most of their stuff on album. But this was in the collection, and I was like, well, I've never seen this before, so I'm assuming it's a bootleg or some kind of compilation I've never seen before. So I did look it up. And this came out in 1971. It's the Doors, so it's a rock album. And what I've noticed on the bottom of it, and this is called Resurrection. It's actually here. It's got an odd picture of Jim Morrison now. We know Jim Morrison, I think he was part of that 27 Club, passed away, and he passed away in Paris. And this here, so I don't know if he had a big fan following over there, but Paris Records, 7371, says not for sale, French fan club release. The interesting thing about this album, I did look it up on Discogs, and they allow people to put it up there to show, to catalog, but they will not let people sell this one. So I don't know if it's because it's considered a bootleg or what, but it's a compilation album. It's just got everything great on there. When the Music's Over, 5 to 1, Spanish Caravan, Unknown Soldier. Side 4 is an interesting Mac the Knife medley with Alabama Song and Backdoor Man. So that's kind of yeah, I don't know. This might be interesting. Side 3 says Stockholm, Sweden, 68. So I don't even know if this is a performance from that or what. But it's a double album. It's old school, kind of in one pocket. It's not a gatefold. And black albums, and it seems to be the original sleeves because they're faded a bit, but it's the Doors, Resurrection. It just says Resurrection, really. It says Paris Records. It doesn't even say Jim Morrison of the Doors, but all those songs are from the Doors. So the next one surprised me. This came out in 1970, and I've never gotten into the Grateful Dead. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Garcia's voice is kind of hard to get into, and they get too jammy for me. I'm just not into the jam bands. I get why people are, why they go to the festivals. I get it, but just not for me. But this album, I gave a listen to, and Working Man's Dead. I loved it. I thought it was great. It was straightforward. It's more of a folk country sound to it. I believe there's some slide steel guitar in there. And I'm assuming they did this on purpose, but when you take the album and you turn it around, it's upside down. You know, usually it's like that, so you kind of flip it this way. But the song I knew before was Uncle John's Band. I did listen to the whole thing. I liked it all the way through. For me, I have to kind of listen to an album a couple times. Well, actually, I did like New Speedway Boogie. That was a good one. That one did stick out. But I was, just listening to it. The titles haven't really stuck with the songs for me yet, but I'm gonna keep listening to it until they do. So yeah, Grateful Dead, Working Man's Dead, and I heard that there's an album I think before this or just after called American Beauty, and it was pretty close to this. So I'm gonna have to check that one out. This is just one of those bands I like. I always rooted for, wanted to like, and didn't, but now I found the one I did. So I would definitely give that a try. The next one is George Harrison. This is called 33 1/3. This came out in 1976. It had singles off of it. Cracker Box Palace, True Love, and It's What You Value. I didn't really care for those songs. I always root for George Harrison because I just loved George Harrison. I actually felt even more of a bond with him. Actually, I watched the recent Beatles documentary on the Disney Channel because George was just like, "Hey, I want to write with you guys," and Paul was kind of rolling his eyes at him. So, not knowing that all these songs that George was recommending or trying to show them ended up on All Things Must Pass, and well, we know how that goes. That album was obviously his classic album. There was one song on here, Beautiful Girl, that I did like. I can't say I didn't like the other songs, they just didn't really do it for me. The music's great, I like Harrison's voice. It was always just a little odd, a little off. Just the songs didn't do much for me. There was one that was funny, I think it was called This Song, and that's kind of his sly way of getting back at the record company for being sued for My Sweet Lord. He was sued for that, so the lyrics of this one are basically, this song has no plagiarism, this riff is mine, so kind of funny. So this one has a gatefold, probably one I'll be getting rid of, but it seems to be in great shape, so hopefully somebody's looking for it and they'll enjoy it. 3 more here. This one is the history of the real Billie Holiday. I didn't see a date on this one, but Billie Holiday was active in music from between about 1929 to 1959. She was a jazz musician. Biggest songs off of this is Lady Sings the Blue, God Bless the Child, and Strange Fruit was the one. If you've seen the movie or biopic that Andra Day did with her, you'll see what Strange Fruit really did and really kind of messed up her life, but she was not going to let up on that song. She was saying, you know, we have a problem in this country with racism, and I'm going to keep singing this song. And it's interesting how the government really came after her on that just for expressing her views, because we can't have that. So interesting movie. And the soundtrack, I would recommend. Andra Day is sort of a chameleon. She kind of channels the inner Billie Holiday on that thing. So I recommend that soundtrack too. There's not too many soundtracks I recommend that I like all the way through, but that was a good one. This is a gatefold. There's some pictures of Billie. Really bonded with her. I had a hard time getting into her voice at one time, but I did, and you know, she's one of my favorites to pop on. Last 2, this is Waylon Jennings, Are You Ready for the Country? If that title sounds familiar, it's a Neil Young song. Don't quote me. I did do my research on this one. I think it was off of Harvest or After the Gold Rush, one of those early Neil Young albums. This came out in 1976. Country, we know Waylon was part of those Outlaws, so it's outlaw country. He does a cover of Can't You See on here, the Marshall Tucker Band album, and in MacArthur Park, which I just never liked that song. I just never got into it. And he covered it, and it just seems like it made it even worse. I always rooted for Waylon, just couldn't get into his voice. There's always something missing with Waylon with me. Some of the stuff he did with Willie, I enjoyed, so that wasn't hard. But yeah, so this has I think that was pretty much it as far as those. This has a gatefold, and we got old Waylon there posing, Mr. Studley. If you don't know his history, he was part of the Crickets, Buddy Holly's band, and he was actually supposed to get on a plane that night, and don't know what the story was, but he did not get on, so Waylon was around for a little bit longer. Actually, I did like what he did with Cash and Christopherson, and I think it was Willie Nelson, The Highwaymen. I like that album, that was good. So Waylon, this would be one I'll probably take it to the record store and find something that I like a little bit more. This last one surprised me. I've heard of these guys, and I knew the song in the 70s, Mr. Bojangles, their version of it. It was actually an earlier song. I think Jerry Jeff Walker wrote the song. But Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, I like this album all the way through. It has a combination of country rock, folk rock, bluegrass, And Uncle Charlie was a real guy. He played the music. He was related to somebody in the band. I don't remember who. There's actually some vocals from Uncle Charlie on there. He does a cover of, I can't remember the name of the song. Jesse James, I believe. Yeah, it's Jesse James by Pete Seeger, which Springsteen did a great album covering. It's called The Seeger Sessions, if you want to check that out. That's cool because Uncle Charlie gets on there, and you can see his dog Teddy there. He plays a harmonica, and Teddy actually sings on there for just a moment. But the album's great. They actually do a cover of Buddy Holly's Rave On, and I thought it was great. It's more of a country folky version of it, but the album works together. There's a couple instrumental songs on here, banjo, things like that. So I really did enjoy this. And when I was looking at the notes, Kenny Loggins wrote some songs on here, Mike Nesmith and Randy Newman, and possibly I know Jackson Browne was a part of these guys later on, so he might have had some songwriting on there. But this one I'm going to keep. I'm going to check it out. It does have a little bit of tear on the spine. It looks like the original sleeve. Looks all right. If it plays well, I'm going to keep this one. I actually really enjoyed it. So, well, I hope you enjoyed my first episode. Went through those 10 albums. Again, those are ones that were given to me. I have more to go through, so I'll be addressing those later. So please hit the subscribe button at the bottom, and I welcome any comments that you guys put down there for me. I'll definitely do my best to get back with you, because I want to see what other things you might want to hear about, talk about, discuss. Because this is all about music talk. I'm going to be talking about a lot of vinyl, but I plan on kind of branching out a little bit more and discussing more anything music, great documentaries, books, things like that related to music. So I definitely want to hear from you. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.